Hello everyone, my name's Stephen White, and it's an absolute privilege to be asked to do a monologue for Bow Morris Theatre. You may be wondering why I've chosen to do this sitting in my car. It's not due to any social distancing reasons. I'm actually here to pay tribute to the American comedian Bob Newhart, and everything will become clear. Bob Newhart, you might most recently remember, fans of the Big Bang Theory would know him as Professor Proton. But he really came to prominence way back in the 1960s for his series of comedy monologues that he did, which actually got to #1 in the Billboard charts. They usually went something like this. There was this thing in the paper the other day about documentaries, and I've had an idea for a long time for what I think would be a wonderful documentary, which has everything. I mean, you get up, you go to work each day, you come home at night, and you never really think about it. It's mechanical, it's routine. But there is one group of people who every day when they go to work, they don't know if they're going to return home that night because they face death in 100 different ways. And I'm talking about America's driving instructors. So I would like to present for you the first in the new TV series called The Driving Instructor. And picture, if you will, I'm the instructor, and seated next to me is a learner driver. How do you do? You're Mrs. Webb, is that right? Oh, I see you've had one lesson already. Who was the instructor on that occasion? Mr. Adams. Okay. Oh, yes, it's here, Mr. Adams. Just let me read ahead and familiarise myself with the case. How fast were you going when Mr. Adams jumped from the car? 75. And where was that? In your driveway. How far had Mr. Adams gotten in the lesson, Mrs. Webb? Backing out. So you were backing out at 75, and that's when he jumped. Had Mr. Adams covered starting the car? And the other way of stopping? What's the other way of stopping, Mrs. Webb? Throwing it in reverse. Okay, that would do it. Okay, Mrs. Webb. Do you want to start the car? Mrs. Webb, you just turned on the lights. Do you want to start the car? Yes, they do all look alike, don't they? I don't know why they designed them that way. Okay, so before we back out, what's the first thing we're going to do before we back out? Well, what did Mr. Adams do before he let you back out? Well, besides praying, say. Well, what I had in mind was checking the rearview mirror. You see, it's don't pull out! Please don't cry. I'm sorry, but there was this bus. See, okay. The lane's clear now. So why don't you try backing out now? Okay. Well, that wasn't so bad. You might want to try it a little slower next time. Okay. Let's get up a bit of speed and gradually ease it into second. Well, I hadn't planned on covering reverse this early, but as long as you've shifted into it, of course you're nervous. I'm nervous. I'm not just saying that. I'm really very nervous. No, pay no attention to their honking. You're doing fine. You're not blocking anyone's lane. No, as long as you're sitting here on the safety island, you're not blocking anyone's lane. Okay, let's just start the car again. Mrs. Webb, while you're turning the lights off, why don't you turn off the heater? Okay, so let's pull away, okay, and get up some speed. Now we're going to practice some turns. And the important thing about turns is not to make them too sharp, just make them kind of gradual. Well, that was a wonderful turn. I find it very difficult to believe you've only had 2 lessons when you make a turn like that. Are you sure you haven't had more now? Well, that was a wonderful turn. One small thing. This is a one-way street. That was partially my fault. I mean, you were in the left-hand lane and indicating left. I just naturally assumed you were going to turn left. But there we go. Same to you, fella! No, I don't know what he said, Mrs. Webb. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, if you want to turn into that alley up here, and we're going to practice some alley driving. Now, this is something that a lot of the schools don't cover, but we think you're going too fast, Mrs. Webb. Well, you were up around 60 there, and it was kind of a sharp turn. Okay, so we're going to just drive along the alley now, and okay, Mrs. Webb, I really think we ought to stop now. Well, I don't think you're going to make it between the truck and the building. Mrs. Webb, I really think, Mrs. Webb, you're not going to... Mrs. Webb, I really didn't think you were going to make it, which just goes to show that we can be wrong too sometimes. No, that's okay. I'll get out your side. Okay, I think maybe, Mrs. Webb, we should head over to the driving area. There's a student driving area a few blocks from here. Maybe traffic throws you. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, well, just turn right here. It's just a block up. Okay, turn here. Well, you see, that was probably my fault again. I meant turn on the street, not this man's lawn. Sir, would you mind turning the sprinkler off? Thank you. I see. Newly seated, is that right? Isn't that always the way? No, I don't suppose it is so damn funny either. Okay, Mrs. Webb, would you like to back out now? I'm sorry, sir. Thank you. Oh, now we hit something, Mrs. Webb. Remember you were going to look in the rearview mirror? We covered that. The red light blinded you. The flashing red light blinded you? The flashing red light on the car you hit blinded you? Yes, officer, she was just talking about it. Okay. Mrs. Webb, I'm going to have to go with this officer down the police station. They don't believe it, and they'd like me to describe it. This other officer, he's going to get in the car, and he's going to drive you back to the driving school, and then you're to meet us at the station too. My name is Frank Dexter. Why do you ask? You want to be sure and get me next time.